Let's take it from the top. This is the past and embrace the future. That's what people want. Keep those feet still, my man.
A biopic can make anything look true: the lighting, the music, the tears on cue. But behind Antoine Fuqua's 2026 film Michael are real events, real family members, and real controversy that Hollywood didn't always get right. Some scenes happened almost exactly as shown. Others were bent, compressed, or invented for drama. And one moment in this movie is so unbelievable, you'd assume it was fiction, except it actually happened. Let's separate the facts from the fiction, one scene at a time. Start with MTV. The film shows the network flatly refusing to play Billie Jean, only caving after industry pressure. That part checks out. MTV's early rotation leaned almost entirely on white rock acts. And Jackson's video wasn't treated as an obvious fit until CBS Records executive Walter Yetnikoff pushed hard for it, reportedly threatening to pull the label's other artists if the channel kept freezing Jackson out. Once the song entered rotation, everything changed. But the dramatic confrontation the film stages between Yetnikoff and an MTV executive is disputed. According to one former MTV programming executive, there was no direct threat. The real friction was over the network snubbing other artists entirely, not a targeted standoff over Jackson. Then there's Bubbles. The movie ties the chimp into Jackson's life as early as 1981, which sounds right given how central Bubbles became to his public image and his reputation as one of pop culture's most famous eccentrics. Except it's wrong. Bubbles wasn't even born until 1983, meaning he couldn't have entered the picture before Thriller was released, let alone during the earlier off-the-wall period the scene implies. The real timeline places him arriving in Jackson's life in the mid-1980s. Moving the date earlier makes Jackson's eccentric reputation look more locked in than it actually was during those early years, which is a small but telling example of how biopics reshape a timeline for emotional effect rather than strict accuracy. The film also credits Motown executive Suzanne de Passe with discovering the Jackson 5. It's an understandable shortcut. She was genuinely important to their rise, later becoming an internal advocate who helped move the group through the label system and even helped shape their early image. But the stronger claim to discovery belongs to Bobby Taylor, who saw the group performing at Chicago's Regal Theater and was directly responsible for getting them in front of Motown in the first place. The film simplifies a multi-person story into a single moment, which happens constantly in biopics but still isn't the full picture. Now for one of the film's most theatrical moments, Michael shocking his family by announcing the group's breakup on stage. It sounds too dramatic to be real, but it mostly is. By the 1984 Victory Tour, tension had been building for a while. Money disputes, pressure from promoters, and the simple fact that Michael had far outgrown the group following Thriller. At the final Dodger Stadium show that December, Michael did announce it would be the group's last performance together, catching at least part of his family off guard. That moment effectively ended the touring chapter of the Jacksons as a group and marked Michael's full transition into a solo superstar. What the film doesn't confirm, though, is any dramatic, permanent rift with his father immediately following that night. That part is more implied than historically supported. Musically, the film also stumbles on Never Can Say Goodbye, using it as the Jackson 5's big breakthrough moment at Motown. In reality, the song wasn't recorded until 1970 and released in 1971, meaning it couldn't have existed anywhere near their early Motown audition period. What actually got them signed wasn't a specific song at all, but their explosive live energy, tight harmonies, and ability to channel the kind of raw soul showmanship popularized by James Brown. Where the film gets it right is Berry Gordy's role as Michael's mentor. Motown wasn't just releasing records, it trained, packaged, and refined its performers for mass appeal. And for a child star like Michael, that environment shaped everything from his stage discipline to his understanding of how raw talent gets turned into a career. The movie positions Gordy as a warmer contrast to Michael's father, and that broadly lines up with the real dynamic between them. Speaking of his father, the film dramatizes Joseph Jackson's ousting from Michael's business affairs with a flashy detail, getting fired by fax. It's the kind of moment that plays great on screen, but the exact method appears to be invented for effect. What is true is the underlying shift. Michael brought in lawyer John Branca and began asserting real independence over his business life by the off-the-wall and thriller eras, no longer functioning as the child star his father once fully controlled. The film also gets the size of the Jackson family wrong, at least by omission. Joseph and Katherine Jackson had 10 children total, though one, Marlon's twin brother Brandon, died shortly after birth, which is why the family is usually discussed as 9 surviving children. Janet Jackson, arguably one of the most famous Jacksons in her own right, doesn't appear in the film at all, despite her career as both an actress and a pop star already being underway during part of the period the movie covers. Given she was born in 1966 and would have been quite young for much of the Jackson 5's early rise. Her absence is understandable, but still noticeable to anyone familiar with the full family story. Then there's the most difficult subject the film tackles, Joseph Jackson's treatment of his children. The portrayal of him as harsh, intimidating, and abusive isn't exaggerated for drama. Michael spoke publicly and repeatedly in multiple interviews over the years about the fear his father instilled in him growing up, and other family members echoed similar accounts of severe discipline behind closed doors. Joseph, for his part, always defended his methods as necessary, insisting he kept his kids out of real danger and pushed them toward greatness rather than mediocrity, and pointing out that plenty of parents discipline their children the same way. But that justification doesn't erase what Michael described experiencing, or how deeply it shaped him well into adulthood. If there's one thing the film gets unmistakably right, it's the contradiction sitting at the center of the Jackson family legacy, a father who helped build one of the most successful entertainment dynasties in history, using methods that left lasting damage on the people inside it. And finally, the detail that sounds the most made up, but isn't. The film shows Michael casting real Los Angeles gang members for the Beat It short film. And unbelievably, that's accurate. The idea reportedly came directly from Michael himself, who wanted the video's anti-violence message to feel grounded in something more authentic than typical studio posturing. Members of rival gangs were brought in through local production contacts and used largely for atmosphere, while trained dancers and choreography handled the film's more technical sequences. It became one of the defining music videos of the decade, and the wildest part of the story turns out to be completely true. So across 10 major moments, Michael blends real history with dramatized shortcuts, some scenes lifted almost exactly from real events, others compressed, reordered, or invented purely for cinematic impact. That's true of almost every biopic ever made, but knowing exactly where the line sits changes how you watch this one. If breaking down fact versus fiction like this is your thing, you're going to love what else we've got. We cover the real stories behind the biggest biopics and movies every single week. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a comment telling us which fact surprised you the most. There's a lot more where this came from, so stick around and we'll see you in the next video.